Let's talk about something that can feel genuinely scary for a lot of people. It's this question: if I start reading about atheism or other challenging ideas, will it completely destroy my faith?
I mean, have you ever felt that little knot of anxiety in your stomach? That worry that if you peek behind the curtain and look at arguments that challenge what you believe, that maybe everything will just fall apart? It's a super common fear, and today we're going to tackle it head-on with a really powerful set of tools for exactly this situation.
So, let's just get right to it. What's the quick and dirty answer to that big, scary question? Well, maybe surprisingly, it's just no.
Think of it like this. The actual act of reading is pretty neutral, right? When you open up an encyclopedia and read about, I don't know, Buddhism or quantum physics, you're just taking in information. The words on the page are just data. They don't have some magical power to change your core beliefs all on their own.
Okay, but here's the twist, and this is really the key to the whole thing. The real danger isn't in the book you happen to pick up. Nope. The danger, or the opportunity, is in how you approach it, the mindset you bring to the table. And this is where things get really, really interesting.
So, what's the game plan? How do you actually explore these challenging ideas without feeling like you're walking on a tightrope? Well, think of it like we're about to hand you a toolkit for your mind. 5 essential rules of engagement to help you ask the hard questions without losing your footing.
All right, rule number 1, and this one is non-negotiable. You have to build your foundation first. Before you decide to go climb some huge intellectual mountain, you've got to have the right gear, and that means having a solid foundation. This breaks down into 3 things. First, prerequisite knowledge. Do you even know the basics of what you're about to dive into? Second, do you know the lingo? Specialized terminology is huge. Knowing that a scientific theory is a universe away from just a casual theory or guess is critical. And finally, logical training. Is your mind actually trained to spot a weak argument or a logical fallacy when you see one? Because without these, you don't become more knowledgeable. You actually risk becoming more ignorant because you're just building a strong opinion on a shaky, uninformed base.
Okay, tool number 2 in our kit. This one's all about recognizing intent. You have to ask yourself, what is this author really trying to do? Very few books are just neutral information dumps. Most of them have an angle. Is the goal to genuinely inform you, showing you multiple sides of an issue? Or is the goal to persuade you, to sell you on one specific viewpoint? That's propaganda. It often works by presenting just one side of the story, knowing that the reader probably doesn't have that foundation we just talked about. This is how someone can read one provocative book and have a crisis of faith, not because the arguments were perfect, but because they literally had no idea that strong counter-arguments even existed. Our third tool is about making sure you're not bringing a knife to a gunfight. It's about understanding mismatched levels of questions and answers.
Think about it like this. An elementary school kid asks a pretty simple question. A high schooler can probably answer it, right? But then a university student asks something way more complex. Now you need a professor. But what happens when the professor themselves has a question? Well, that's when you get into territory that takes years of deep personal research to even begin to unravel. The danger is you might pick up a book and find out professor-level question while you only have a high school-level understanding. And that can make you feel like, wow, there's no answer, when the reality is the answer just exists on a level you haven't reached yet.
And this brings us to rule number 4, which, let's be honest, might be the hardest one of all. You have to embrace patience. So imagine this. You stumble upon a really tough question, something that shakes you. Your first round of research, it just leaves you feeling unsatisfied. Now here's the critical moment. The temptation is to either grab the first easy answer you find or just give up. But the real skill is to suspend judgment, to just sit with the question, to be okay with not knowing. Because here's the thing, the real insight, the satisfying answer, might not show up for 5, 10, even 20 years. It's a huge mistake to abandon your belief just because the answer isn't instant.
And that brings us to our 5th and final tool. And this one is all about you. You have to look inward.
The source uses this really powerful analogy. You wouldn't tell someone with trembling hands to become a surgeon, right? Or someone with a crippling fear of heights to go climb a mountain. Well, the same thing applies here, intellectually. This kind of deep, challenging inquiry. It's just not for everyone, and that's okay. If you know that you're someone who is naturally prone to overwhelming anxiety or obsessive doubt, then intentionally diving into a sea of conflicting ideas might just not be a healthy path for you. It's all about self-awareness.
So what happens when you put all of this together, when you use this toolkit? The point isn't just to, survive your curiosity. It's about letting that curiosity completely transform you.
You basically shift from what you could call a faith of avoidance, which, let's face it, is pretty fragile and gets scared by tough questions, to a faith of inquiry. And that kind of faith, man, it's resilient. It's been through the ringer and came out stronger. It doesn't run from the hard questions, it actually welcomes them. And maybe most importantly, it makes you a resource for other people. You can actually help guide someone else who's going through the same doubts you did.
So at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to hang on to your faith by a thread. It's to fortify it, to turn what might have been a glass house into a stone fortress, built one thoughtful, well-researched brick at a time.
This all brings us to one final thought. The point of all this isn't to scare you away from big ideas. It's the exact opposite. It's about handing you a map so you can finally go on that intellectual adventure.
Look, being afraid of asking big questions, that keeps us in the shallow end of what we believe. But now you have the toolkit. You're equipped for safe exploration. So the only question left is, what intellectual mountain are you going to dare to climb?